Hello, welcome to the worst shot challenge in Cuphead, DLC edition. I regret every decision in my life that has led me to this moment. So for this challenge, I asked people to vote for each boss which shot they think is the least effective, and whichever got the most votes I'd have to use. Other rules would be no charms, no supers, and must be done on expert. Not regular, not simple. We're not pussies. And now with the DLC, we have more walls to bash my head against. I can't wait. So briefly, before the DLC bosses, I want to talk about some of the existing fights in the base game that had a DLC weapon picked for them as the worst shot. And only 3 of them did. Ribby and Croaks, Cagney, and Rumor Honeybottoms. Great, 3 of the most cancerous fights on expert, thank you so much guys. I really appreciate it. But you know what, they weren't as bad as I thought they would be. I first beat all 3 of them very quickly using Chalice, but then I realized she's a charm and that's against the rules. Wow, what a way to objectify women. So I went back with just poor little Mugman and I got each of them within like 5% HP left. So you know what, that's good enough for me. I'll take it as a win. First I want to talk about Ribby and Croaks, which had Twist Up picked for it instead of the original Spread. And honestly, I think Spread was worse. Well, maybe. It's about the same for the first 2 phases, but they don't matter anyway. They're not really that hard, especially phase 2. It's the slot machine that really sucks. Both with Spread and Twist Up you have to get close in order to land your hits, but up close you won't have any time to react to the upcoming attacks. But I find that Twist Up has a slightly longer reach. Every once in a while a single shot might tickle the edges of the boss if you're around the middle of the room, and let me tell you, Twist Up damage is garbage. Only if every single shot lands does it do acceptable damage. So only tickling the boss every once in a while with a single little twirly boy, it's gonna take a long damn time. But even still, that's better than just not being able to hit the boss period, which is the Spread experience. Also, you can use the X moves, you just can't use super, and Twist Up X move is okay. It can hit the boss actually, so that's pretty amazing. Cagney is the same deal pretty much. Twist Up works fine for the first 2 phases, then for the 3rd one you can only hit the boss if you're up close. So again, it takes forever, but at least it's mechanically an easy fight, so it's not really that bad. Just a patience check. Rumor I got like 2nd try on Chalice, but as Mugman it was a whole different story. Probably because Chalice is better suited for platforming bosses like this. And I know exactly why you assholes picked this shot. You thought I'd never be able to hit Rumor in the final phase. But it's surprisingly not completely impossible. It does require aiming in a specific way though, so it might end up taking your focus away from the flying fists and platforming, which isn't great. But to me, the beginning is the most annoying. It's always better to stay above the cup so you don't get trapped by the boss and the workers, but well, it's in the name of the shot, Twist Up. So good luck. Okay, now let's talk about the DLC fights. The first one I did was Glumstone the Giant, for which over half the votes went into Lobber as the worst shot. They were probably right about that one, it does suck ass. Not only does it have bad range, bad fire rate, but also bad angle, all of which make it dreadful to use on fights with minions. And here's a fun fact, the only boss without minions in the entire game is Gooby Legrand, so fuck me. And the worst case of cancerous minions besides the shit Illumination churns out is the gnomes in Glumstone. In order to avoid death, you'll have to keep trying to kill the gnomes before too many of them spawn, and also hit the boss as much as you can so the torture is over as fast as possible. And you'll also just have to dodge things. I find it easy to hit the boss, but the gnomes are just tiny and they're at the bottom while you have to stand on the pillars, so it's a bad fight to do with Lobber. Who would have guessed? Now for the second part, it's really not much different from how you would normally do it. It's very easy to hit the boss. Problem is that even with the best shot, I'm still awful at this phase. I just have a hard time visualizing where the ball they throw will go, and the gnomes spawn so rapidly all over the screen I can't keep up with it. Sometimes I'll luck out and get here without having lost a single heart, only to die before even getting halfway through the puppets. Then we have the final phase. You guys are such comedians making me have to do this shit with Lobber. I can't even hit the bitch unless I'm jumping and also right under her. What is normally a 30-second fight is now as long as the entire boss fight would be with a better weapon. It is an easy phase, but when it takes this long and you only have 3 hearts for not just this phase but the entire boss, there's plenty of chances to fuck it up. And fuck it up I did. So in total I spent an hour and 25 minutes doing this one boss. Thank you guys. Alright, so Mortimer Freeze was a delight because it only took less than half an hour. The vote was close between Lobber and Twist Up, but in the end, as you can see, Lobber won. I'm so absolutely thrilled. And clearly the reason it won is because of phase 1. He's flying above you the whole time. Lobber has no range. Not a match made in heaven. So again, you can only reach him when you jump, but the problem is, whenever he flashes you, the hitbox on the icicle minions is instant, and the animation itself is also really fast. So if you're already mid-jump and he does it, and you're in a bad spot, well, you're fucked. So the best method is to always aim at his ballsack. Always jump right between those little chubby legs and shove your balls up his ass so that the minions spawn around you and not on you.
This sounds very gay.
So this part really sucks to do, but the entire rest of the fight is completely fine. Now, I do think the snowman is a difficult boss regardless of the shot you're using, so it's entirely possible I'll still die here. And you do have the popsicles flying around, which are pretty hard to hit with Lobber, like always. But other than that, it's fine. The giant snowflake I've gotten pretty good at, but since all that's on my mind here is, please don't die, I don't want to do phase 1 again, sometimes I just overthink it and die.
Fuck!
Oh my ass. Oh my ass! Why did I have to do this? Why is it always fucking Lobber? This time a whopping 70% voted for it. And it's once again an enemy that flies above you that you can't reach without jumping. Oh joy. And he rarely stands still. He'll usually pilot the plane for a few seconds and then jump off to attack you from left or right. But whenever he makes this face, whoo, that's the face you wanna see. It means he'll drift around a little longer and it's free damage. But then, they appear. The goddamn fire hydrants. Why are there fire hydrants? Why are they locked into homing into me? Even if they fly past me, they'll change course immediately and shove themselves up my fucking ass. What's that? You say just shoot them? Well, problem with that is that we're using Lobber, and hitting things is generally not gonna happen when you use it. So the biggest danger in this fight is when you get 3 bad things at once. A fire hydrant, an attack from the boss, and the baseballs. I can deal with 1, even 2 of them at once, but 3 might just be a little much. Now the puppies by themselves, they're fine. It is a little bit awkward to hit them, of course, so it lasts longer than it should, and sometimes I'll make a dumb mistake and get hit, and then I get so frustrated that I lose focus and ultimately die in the finale. Which is another case of a purely difficult phase. It's easy to hit the boss, but just surviving through it with what little health you've got left is the challenge. I find that sometimes the combination of the yellow and red bowls is really unfavorable and other times a bit more reasonable. It varies a lot. It is just me being bad at the boss though, not something that's made hard by the challenge itself necessarily. Though it being the final phase does make me overthink and stress, and you know how that ends. Ultimately it took me 1 hour and 40 minutes, but it probably took more than that from my life expectancy. Thank you, Cuphead. So the closest thing to fun I had in this challenge was Moonshine Mob. Possibly because I was able to use something other than Lobber for once. Not that Twist Up is a massive upgrade or anything. There's just something satisfying about getting every twirly boy to hit the boss, which you won't get the chance to do often. But when you do, oh man, it's like it actually does something. I found it best to keep chasing the spider and use every opportunity you get to spray him with the twirlies. Pop the X-move Tornado every once in a while when the arena is getting crowded, and try to get rid of the caterpillars ASAP. Also, did you know you can crouch under the flies? I didn't, until this challenge. Can't see that. It's still a hard fight and it can last a while, and even if it doesn't, there's what I call the first phase tax. It's just a rule that you're taxed 1 heart before you can continue. I'd almost always have 2 hearts for the gramophone lady, but every once in a while I'd manage to commit tax evasion, and I felt so dirty but so good for it. Now the gramophone is less intense in a way, there's less shit happening, but the issue is how the lady keeps moving all over the floor. I would rarely get hits, but the fight would last so damn long that I'm bound to make a mistake eventually, or just get exhausted. Then we have the Shit Eater, who is by far the easiest one to hit, but he does have his big ass balls bouncing around and they have a fair bit of health. More than Twist Up is capable of dealing with quickly. I recommend saving as much of your cards as possible so you can spam them whenever the boss spits out the balls, and just stay on the bottom platform the whole time unless you're about to get tongue fucked. I feel I got really lucky when I finally beat the Anteater, but that's when I came face to face with the real boss. The Snail! Yeah, the thing that usually dies in 1 hit is now the most intense part of the whole fight. I was sweating and shaking and pissing myself. I just really didn't want to die and redo it, and thankfully that didn't happen. Okay, I give up. I can't. I physically can't do this fight on expert. It's just not gonna happen. I ended up having to do the fight on regular, and if you think that's me taking the easy way out, well, it's not really. It was still as hard as any of the others were on expert. Over half the voters sealed my fate by voting Lobber once more, and as if just surviving the carnage of the first phase wasn't enough, I now can't even hit him. Look at how shit Lobber is. Why is it going out my ass? To the one single person who voted Crackshot, thank you. You tried. It wasn't enough, but I appreciate it. The only way I could really do any damage was by parrying anything I could, and then using the X on Saltbaker, but, you know, even then it would sometimes just miss. It's just really agonizing, exhausting, drawn out. Like, it takes so long that the music just stops. Even the game is like, the fuck are you still doing here? But the moment I beat the first phase, that was it. Everything else I just first tried. Cause phase 2 I'm already pretty good at on expert, so regular is just a cakewalk, and even Lobber can hit the salt shakers just fine. Same goes for the final stretch, though it is a little more awkward to land hits on the heart. But there's only 2 things you have to worry about, platforming and the heart. That's like 10 times less than in phase 1. So the total amount of time I spent here was an hour and 10 minutes. Half of it was on expert, half on regular, and I'm sure the number would be times 100 if I went all the way on expert. But I really need a nap, okay? After all this, I deserve a nap. Fuck! Alright, well, I don't think that's gonna happen either. But anyhow, if you guys want to try the challenge yourselves, I'll have all the poll results on screen. And thank you all for voting, by the way, even if it nearly cost the life of my controller. And thank you for watching, and join my Discord server, links in the description. And I'm gonna be off on a trip for some time. I'm gonna S-rank Canada and worst shot challenge my girlfriend. But I'll be back to no life soon enough. So, see ya.